Hi, I'm Marshall. I'm the owner of Going Gear, and I'm here in our store in Smyrna, Georgia. This is the extended review of the Nitecore TM36 with an 1100 meter beam distance. Alright, so here we are with the Nitecore TM36 in the packaging. Pretty crazy light, 1100 meters of throw, which is an amazing distance for a production factory made flashlight. That's a whole lot of distance. That's over a kilometer. I mean, that's a serious amount of throw on this thing. 1800 lumens on max output. On the low, you're going to get 67 hours of runtime. And as always, you can get the full specs, all the different outputs and runtimes and all that kind of stuff from us at goinggear.com. Let's open it up and show you what you get on the inside. Nitecore does a really good job with their user manuals. Definitely take a look at this. They have all kinds of information about the outputs and runtimes. They got that ANSI table. They have the operation of it, how to get into all the different modes, warranty information, maintenance and that kind of stuff. A good read for sure if you're buying a light, especially considering this thing is not the cheapest light out there. You want to know how to take care of it and use it properly. So here's the light. We're going to set that to the side. Other stuff that you get in here, they have an included shoulder strap. So I mean, this thing is not a pocket light. I suppose you could shove it in some giant cargo pants, but it comes with a shoulder strap. And if you want to use that, these are the attachment rings for attaching that shoulder strap if you want to do that. Other stuff that you have in there, this is a rechargeable light. So this is a rechargeable battery pack light. So you've got the AC adapter, and that's it. All the stuff down in there. Yeah, I think we got it all. So let's go ahead and set the packaging to the side, paperwork and all that kind of stuff. Let's take a look at this big honking light itself. So here is the light. If you're familiar with the TM series, you've seen that they went from that TM11, kind of compact little guy, they kind of got progressively bigger. So this is definitely the largest one in the line. What's kind of interesting about this one is this actually uses the battery pack that you can buy separately for the other models in the line, meaning that you can take the bodies of the other ones and stick it on this one and power the light. And I'll show you that later in the video. It's kind of an interesting look. It's a stubby little guy with a giant head, but you'll see that later in the video. This one has the LED display that you saw on the TM26, so you can turn it on and see all kinds of information about the light. Right now it just shows you the standby voltage. When we actually turn the light on, you'll see the other stuff. There's the lens, luminous SBT70 LED down in there. This is brand new, so it still has the blue protective cover on the lens. We'll see if I can get that off in a reasonable amount of time without having to cut and come back to it. Yeah, I couldn't get it off in a reasonable amount of time. So here we are. There's the LED down in there, luminous SBT70 LED. Let's see if I can zoom in on it and see if the camera can focus on just the LED down in there itself. There you go. Kind of an interesting LED. So there's no dome on it, the traditional dome that you see on a lot of LEDs out there. And it's also circular. You can kind of see that the die down in there is circular instead of the typical square that you see. So really interesting LED. Our longest throwing flashlights are all using this luminous SBT70 LED. And TM36 obviously no exception. So that's the LED. You can see the head. Whole lot of heat sinking on this thing. So I mean, this thing's putting out a serious amount of power, and it needs a serious amount of heat dissipation, which this does a great job of it. This thing has thermal protection built in, so when it starts to overheat, it's going to drop the output. But you can see how much surface area and heat dissipation you have on here. All these fins, it does a great job of just getting that heat away from the LED and help cool the light off, keep it from overheating. Some nice stuff that you have on the back side of the light, you have a tripod mount. So we have a lot of photographer customers, law enforcement, search and rescue, guys that want to be able to direct a light in a certain place without having to hold it. You know, normally you would have to just prop it up against a tree or, you know, against a rock or something like that to kind of get it to where you want it to be. But with this, you can mount it to a tripod, point it exactly where you want it to be pointed, and still have your hands free. So it's kind of a nice option that you have on there. Here is the charging port, so you can use the adapter, the included adapter, to charge the battery pack. You can actually take the battery pack off and get another adapter and charge the battery pack by itself. So that's kind of a cool option if you have one of the other TM series, because like I said, other TM series battery packs will work with the TM36. Actually, go ahead and show you that real quick. So we're going to set the battery pack to the side, and here we have a TM26. We're going to go ahead and take the battery pack off and show you that it does indeed work. So this is the NBP52 battery pack that comes with the TM36, and this works on the TM26 and the other TM series lights. So it stands to reason that their little battery packs will work on a TM36, and they do indeed. So you can screw it on there. You'll see the LED or LCD display come up. Turn the light on, and it works. I honestly don't know if the screen is still accurate, so I'm not sure if the screen is still accurate for all the different modes and runtimes and everything. I'm not sure if it works with different battery packs other than the included one. So just keep that in mind. It may or may not be accurate with the screen, but the light works just fine. So kind of an interesting little option that you have. You make this stubby little guy with a massive head. Interesting looking little light. But it still works. You still get pretty decent run times. It's not going to be quite as long as you get with the battery pack. But if you put some high quality, like the Olight 3400 milliamp hour 18650s in there, it comes pretty close to what you get with the included battery pack. So let's go ahead and take that off. Good way to cut down on size and weight if you want to do that. So put that to the side, and we're going to go ahead and put the included battery pack back on. Actually, let me show you the size difference between the TM36 and the TM26. So we get that question a lot. You know, the TM11, TM15, TM26 were all relatively the same size. You know, TM15 was a little bit bigger than the other two, but they're all relatively compact, fit in your hand, nice and small. You can see the TM36 is much, much larger. So definitely a lot larger. The TM26 is not even as big as the 36's head or the battery pack, really. About the same size as the battery pack, let alone the head. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between the two in terms of function. You can see the difference in size, and obviously they weigh different and everything. The TM36 is going to be a very tightly focused, very long throwing beam. So you get 1,100 meters of beam distance out of this thing. 3,800 lumens on the TM26, so significantly more lumens, but it's a more spread out beam. So it's going to light up a wider area once, but you're not going to get nearly the distance. So if you want distance, 36 is the way to go. If you want a more spread out, wide open beam, 26 is the way to go. And I'll take the 26 when we go outside just so you can see the difference between the 26 and the 36. Okay, let's talk about the operation and everything of the TM36. Same interface that you saw on the 26 and a lot of the other Nitecore lights. You have this two-stage switch here. So it's similar to a camera shutter switch where if you do a half press, you get like the focus on the camera, and then you do the full press and you get the shutter release. Well, on this one, when you do the half press, it's going to go into the lower outputs, and each time you do a half press, you can see cycles through your different outputs. Let me address something else real quick. You can see there's kind of a hole in the middle of the beam there. That's only going to be present when you're really up close. Honestly, you get too close to the beam of any reflected light, and you're going to see that. You can see once you start getting further away, that goes away. So just before people comment on that, I know somebody's going to see that and say, hey, is there a hole in the middle of the beam? Yeah, it's when you're extremely up close. Honestly, how often are you going to use the light at 4 or 5 inches away from whatever you're trying to shine it on? So when you get to the usable distances, when you're actually going to be using the light, that's only about 18 inches away, it goes away. So anyway, half press will get you in your lower outputs. Keep on half pressing, it'll cycle through your different outputs. Full press to turn it off. Full press from off will go straight to your max output, the 1,100 meters, and then the 1,800 lumens. You can do a half press from that, and it's going to go drop down to the 800 lumens, the high. You can see you can cycle between those two. It's always going to default to the max output when you do the full press from off. You have a memory when you do the half press from off. So we'll drop it down to the lowest output. You can see you turn it off, do the half press to turn it back on, and it'll be back into that lowest output. But you do the full press, it's always going to default to that max output. You also have some flashing modes. So when you have it turned on, do a quick double click, it'll go into strobe. Half press will go into SOS. Half press will go into beacon, and there's not a memory for those. So if you turn it off, turn it back on, it's going to go back into the regular illumination depending on if you do the half press or full press. And you have to do the double click to get back into the flashing modes. You also have a lockout. So if you have it turned on, do a press and hold, and you'll see it say lockout on the little screen, and then the switch won't work. Do a press and hold, and it'll get back out of that. You can also just loosen up the battery. You can see the light won't function. So if you're going to be storing it for long periods, it's a good idea probably just to loosen up the battery. Alright, let's talk about this little display screen. So when you have the light turned off, you can see it shows the standby voltage. You're not going to be able to cycle through any other different things. Let's turn the light on. We'll turn it on to one of the lower outputs. Shows you some really useful information. Let's actually freeze it. So we have the 3.6 volts, so that shows the current battery voltage. Shows you the battery life. I'll charge this before we go outside just to make sure it's full. Shows you the run time based on the current battery life. Shows you the temperature of the light. So this has thermal regulation. It's going to drop the output when it starts getting too hot. You can see when it's going to get too hot. Kind of interesting. And this is my favorite screen. So it shows some really good information. 180 meters will show you the current beam distance. It'll show you the lumens, 50 lumens, and the level. And then you go back through the other ones. So a bunch of really good information on the screen. Very, very useful stuff. It's definitely not a gimmick. You know, when I first heard about these lights, the TM26, when it first came out, you're like, a screen on there? Come on, guys. Like, what are you really going to do with that? And then it came out, and you start seeing the stuff that they put on there, and you're like, oh, that actually really is useful. Got really good information on there. So you can see accurate information about the battery and the runtime and the output and everything. Pretty cool feature. And, of course, it's going to change depending on which mode you're in. So we go to the max output. You can see 1800 lumens, 1100 meters. You can see the battery voltage drops pretty quickly when you start putting it into the higher modes. You can see the run times and everything. Very, very cool. So a cool option that you have on there. That's the little screen. Okay, let's talk about the interface again real quick. We'll go over it real quick. Okay, so you have this two-stage switch. Do a half press and you go into the lower outputs. Each time you do a half press, it'll cycle through the lower outputs. Full click to turn it off. Full click to go into the max output from off. Half press will go into the high. You can go between those two. And you do have a memory on the lower outputs, no memory on the higher outputs. You have some flashing modes, so have it turned on. Do a double click, it'll go into strobe. Half press SOS. Half press beacon. And then you have the lockout as well, which I showed you just a little while ago. And then you have momentary as well. So if you do, I can't remember if I showed this before. This might be new. So you can do a half press and you have momentary. And it's actually a pretty quick momentary. So you can do the half press. You can see I'm getting kind of short here. It's a very quick half press or full press to go into the constant on. It's kind of nice. A lot of lights where you do the momentary, you have to hold it down for a couple seconds or so. Well, sometimes you just need a quick burst. You can see the momentary on here is pretty quick. So that's something that a lot of people have trouble with when they first get the light. You know, they're doing kind of a long press and the light doesn't stay on. It's a very quick press to do the constant on, so just keep that in mind. And same thing on the full press. So you can do the full press and get the momentary. You can see, same thing, it's pretty quick. So you just do the full press really quickly to get the constant on. So pretty cool feature. If you need just a quick little burst of light or even a more sustained one where you don't want to have the constant on, you just hold your finger on the light and you've got that momentary. All right, so there you go. That is the interface and everything of the TM36. I showed you all the features, battery pack, and how the other battery pack works with it. We're going to go ahead and take the TM36 outside, and we're also going to take the TM26 just so you can see the difference between the beams, between the flood and the spot, since we get that question a lot. Okay, let's go ahead and take these outside. All right, we're outside with the Nitecore TM36. Got the big 40 mag light that I always use as a control, since pretty much everybody knows what this thing can do. Let's go ahead and try out that 40 mag light. There's a little tree about 30 feet away. Dock house down there on the lake is about 100 feet away. So there's the mag light. Let's try out this Nitecore, see what this guy can do. So there it is on the max output. Very, very focused beam. So obviously this thing is built for distance. You're going to get tunnel vision where you're doing more up close kind of stuff. Distance is where this thing shines. And we'll take it out to a longer distance here in just a little bit. We'll shine it around just a little bit first. Show you what those lower outputs look like. Have trouble talking at 3 o'clock in the morning. Show you all those different ones. And we'll zoom in there on the max output just so you can see what that looks like up close. So 100 feet away, obviously lit up really, really well. This thing can do 1100 meters. So 100 feet away is no problem for it at all. You can see a pretty decent spill on it. You know, it's not a super wide spill like you'll get with some other flashlights, but definitely a usable spill. A very bright spill. So you can see when I shine it down, the spill alone actually gets out to the dock house pretty well by itself. And then when you need it, you can focus the main beam, that hot spot, wherever you want it. Pretty cool light. Okay, let's try this thing out at a longer distance, and we'll use the TM26 also. Alright, we got some more distance to try out the big throw monster, the TM36. Let's go and turn it on, show you what this guy can do. Boat right there is about 15 feet away. Got 2 targets set up out there, same ones we use with the long distance comparison videos. First one is at 50 yards. One to the left of that is at 100 yards. Tree line beyond is 130 yards. All that is lit up really, really well. This light can do 1100 meters. So 130 yards is going to be no problem for it at all. Kind of shining around a little bit. Let me show you the lower outputs just so you can see even those get out there no problem. So that's 50 lumens right there. 50 lumens goes out to 50 yards, and you can see the lighter parts of 100 yards. It's really impressive. Crazy concentrated beam. This is definitely meant for distance. You know, you're not going to want to light stuff up close because you're going to get that tunnel vision. But if you need the distance, this is a great light for that. And if you don't want to kind of avoid the tunnel vision, if you need to use it for up close kind of stuff, you can see the spill. So the spill gets out there probably about 40 yards by itself. So you kind of tilt the light up, use the spill, and you avoid a lot of that tunnel vision effect when you're doing up close kind of stuff. Okay, let me show you the TM26, because a lot of people ask about the TM26 versus the TM36. 3800 lumens, very different beam. Shine that around a little bit. Obviously it's a lot smaller, and as I showed you before, you can use the same battery pack. Very different beam though. More lumens, more spread out, more for up close kind of stuff. I think this thing's rated for something like 400 meters, so you're not going to get nearly the distance. I personally like the TM26 better. I find it more useful because you can kind of see we don't have a lot of big wide open spaces out here. So 100 yards, 200 yards, that's kind of where I max out. We got a lot of customers that max out much further than that. So they have farms, or they have ranches, or they have places where they need to just light stuff up at just really long distances like 1100 meters. And that's where the TM36 comes in. Great light if you need to be able to just light stuff up at great distances, or even not at great distances. If you have shorter distances and you want to light something up just really well, get that super concentrated beam on it, that's where the TM36 comes in. So we'll do them side by side. We'll have the TM26 on the right, TM36 on the left, kind of shining back and forth. You can see the difference in the beams. Super concentrated, pretty floody spread out. Both great lights, both definitely have their uses. So there you go. That's the TM26 versus the TM36. Lots of people have been asking about that. Hopefully that satisfies your curiosity. Alright, so that is the TM36. You also saw the TM26. If you like either light, you can get them from us at goinggear.com. Any questions or comments, you can reach me in the comments or any of my guys at goinggear.com. If you like the video, please subscribe. I do a lot of gear and flashlight videos. And that's it. Thanks for watching.